debate today. This was Joe Biden, I think, at his strongest. We see how much he loves the parade. He was walking, jogging, and at times, indeed, yes, running throughout this parade route. But we also saw how much he continues to struggle in some ways with the status of being a front runner in the race. When he has pledged himself not to attack his fellow Democrats, but his fellow Democrats are very much eager to attack him, to try to knock him off that perch. We talked about that shaky debate performance last week. He said that certainly there's, he will let his the rest of the country decide how he did. He said he's not necessarily going to be changing his campaign preparation for those future debates. But yes, this back and forth with Senator Harris on busing still is defining the race at this point. The vice president and his team are very much taking note of the fact that Senator Harris has been asked more questions about where she stands on busing, that she is actually articulating a position that sounds a lot like what the vice president has articulated. But we also heard from the vice president in that gaggle earlier that, listen, these discussions about things that were happening 20, 30, 40 years ago are really lost on voters. He's very much determined to keep the focus on the future as much as he can, at least try to do so.
Jack Brewster, let me turn to you. We're talking about sort of this dynamic that's emerged here between the former vice president, Senator Kamala Harris. What is Senator Bernie Sanders doing now that's taking place? There's a void that's opened up as a result of that. How has his message changed as a result?
Well, he's staying away from that debate, I can tell you that. He's focused on pure retail politics here in Iowa. So, like many of the other candidates here in Iowa, he's going around, going to parades, going to 4th of July parades. He's having an ice cream social. He's having office openings. He's trying to focus on his grassroots support and galvanizing his supporters. I can tell you the people that he was marching with, the group of volunteers and supporters, they were registering voters. They were pulling in people who were along the parade route, taking bumper stickers, all that stuff. They were getting them in the system, getting them registered. We did get a chance to ask a couple of questions to Bernie Sanders as he was on the parade route. He talked about his polling and how, when I mentioned that some polls have him ticking down a little bit, he mentioned, hey, there are some other polls that have me ticking up a little bit. And he also talked about President Trump's military event tonight. Take a listen to that sound here.
I think we need money to go into rebuilding our infrastructure. I'm not quite sure that we need money to go into put tanks in downtown Washington, D.C.
And this campaign is focused on their volunteers. There's 25,000 volunteers that they have here. It's a campaign that's been scaling up in many of these early primary and caucus states. So they have 43 staffers here. In some of the other states, they doubled and tripled their staff. So you can just tell, despite the polling, despite the headlines that question if the revolution is stalled, so to speak, he's focused on just trying to have those voter interactions and shaking those hands and meeting with voters one selfie at a time.
Mike Nemely, let me turn to you lastly here. I know the vice president's going to go watch an Iowa Cubs game a little bit later. I think they're playing the Memphis Redbirds tonight at Principal Field in Des Moines. What else does he have in store for the weekend? If he doesn't want to keep talking about busing, what does he want to be talking about? What is his hope that the message will be here as we go through this weekend?
Well, what we saw time and time again, whenever the Biden campaign hits a little bit of a road bump here, as it were, he often likes to turn the focus to President Trump, and that contrast, that urgency of a general election matchup of preventing another 4 years for the president. We saw him also today discussing that parade in Washington, saying this is very much out of character for what the 4th of July is supposed to be. This is supposed to be a celebration of what happened on the 4th of July in Philadelphia, not militaristic in any way. So we'll hear more of that. I should mention, David, though, that the vice president, after he leaves Iowa tomorrow, will be heading to Houston to talk education, but then back to South Carolina, a state where the African-American vote is so critical. I think that discussion on busing may follow him there. He'll have to continue to talk about that before the African-American voters there in that state, which make up a majority of the vote in that primary.
A number of these candidates heading down to Houston for that education conference. Mike Nemely on the banks of the Waspinagon River in Iowa, Independence, Iowa. Thank you very much. My thanks to Shaq Brewster, who joined us from Slater, Iowa, as well. And tonight on MSNBC, we're going to re-air the first Democratic debate, night 1 from 7 to 9 o'clock Eastern Time, and night 2 from 9 to 11 o'clock Eastern. NBC News Now, NBC's streaming service, is going to carry President Trump's remarks live. You can also watch them on our website, NBCnews.com. Well, up next, more questions about the census. President Trump changed his course, ordering his administration to keep trying to include a citizenship question. DOJ lawyers don't seem to know how to go forward. And later in the hour, the humanitarian crisis worsens at the U.S.-Mexico border. We've seen the images of children held in border facilities. Now the pictures they're drawing when they get out, and the long-term damage doctors say these kids face.
It all all comes down to a single defining moment. When a plan stops being a plan and gets set into motion. Today's Merrill can help you get there. With the people, tools, and personalized advice to help turn your ambitions into action. What would you like the power to do?
We ask these creatures of comfort what it's like to sleep under Casper. Some things just don't need words.
Get 10% off any order with a mattress at Casper.com.
Dealing with psoriatic arthritis pain was so frustrating.
My skin, it was embarrassing.
My joint, big burst.
The pain and swelling.
The tenderness.
The psoriasis.
I had to find something that worked on all of this.
I found Cosentyx. Now, watch me.
Real people with active psoriatic arthritis are getting real relief with Cosentyx. It's a different kind of targeted biologic. Cosentyx treats more than just the joint pain of psoriatic arthritis. It even helps stop further joint damage. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms. If your inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen, or if you've had a vaccine or plan to, serious allergic reactions may occur.
I got real relief.
I got clear skin and feel better.
Now, watch me.
Get real.
Keeping me up, I wanna waste time. Just looking up, sky full of stars. Mind wandering far, over 16. Dreaming in the dark. Love the wind in my hair as I drive my car.
Right now, lease the Infiniti QX50 for $379 a month, plus get a $1,000 summer bonus now during the Infiniti Plus Summer Sales event.
The last time you ever have to think about hair loss, because Bosley is the real deal. They're America's #1 hair restoration expert, and they're giving men their hair back permanently. Their real hair. Get an absolutely free information kit and free gift card by texting GOLD to 654-654. Bosley will show you for free how...
Vulnerable. Please, will you help us take care of her? Go online to forcetoflee.org right now to help protect these children. Make today the day you join USA for UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency. With your $19 monthly gift, you can be a lifeline for a child who's lost everything. Children like Anna need your support. They need food and clean water. But above all, they need to feel safe from violence and bloodshed. Safe enough to begin recovering from trauma through comfort and counseling. And they need to feel like someone really cares. So please, start your support now for only 63 cents a day. When a child like Anna has lost everyone she loves, will you help us protect her? Please visit forcetoflee.org with your support right now.
Prestige creams not living up to the hype? Olay Regenerist shatters the competition. Big hype, big price, big deal. Olay Regenerist hydrates skin better than creams costing over $100, $200, and even $400. For skin that looks younger than it should. Fact check this ad in Good Housekeeping. Olay Regenerist. Now, try Olay Hydrating Eye. Hydrates better than the #1 prestige eye cream.
What makes creative planning different from other financial advisors? As an independent firm with over $40 billion in assets, we have the experience that you deserve, and our advisors are fiduciaries legally bound to act in your best interest. Rather than manage your investments based solely on age or risk tolerance, We consider your entire financial picture, including tax and legal planning, to create a complete plan that's right for you. So call 866-CREATIVE and experience the difference. Creative Planning. Wealth management redefined.
President Trump's first tweet for the July 4th holiday acknowledged government employees don't all get the day off. Largely in the case he's talking about, it's because he reversed his own administration's decision in the last 24 hours on the 2020 census. Here's what the president tweeted today. So important for our country that the very simple and basic "Are you a citizen of the United States?" question be allowed to be asked in the 2020 census. Department of Commerce and the Department of Justice are working very hard on this, even on the 4th of July. Where are we now? The DOJ has until 2 p.m. tomorrow to give Maryland federal judge clarification on what is happening. Are they still printing census forms and moving on like the administration said on Tuesday? Or is the plan now to move forward with the citizenship question? CNN's Ariane DeVoe joins our conversation. And because this is so confusing, because the questions and the answers are changing almost hourly, I just want to put up on the screen a little bit of the timeline of the zigzag. Okay, Tuesday, DOJ spokesman and the Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said explicitly the census has started the process of printing without question. Wednesday morning, yesterday morning, the president says we are absolutely moving forward, meaning adding citizenship questions. So because of that, there was an emergency call yesterday with a federal judge in Maryland and members of the Department of Justice, where you had a couple of mind-blowing quotes from the president's own Department of Justice, people working on this. Joshua Gardner. The tweet this morning was the first I had heard of the president's position. I am doing my absolute best to figure out what's going on. Then DOJ Assistant AG Joseph Hunt. If we continue to examine the Supreme Court decision and believe that we have a viable path forward to that work, our current plan will be to file a motion in the Supreme Court. As Mr. Gardner said, it's very fluid at present. That's a Trump nominee. The first one is a career person. I mean, this is so extraordinary. I know we say the word extraordinary so many times in the Trump era, but this is remarkable that you have a Justice Department official the day before a holiday basically telling a federal judge, come on, dude, like, help me out here. I'm doing my best. I was just told to reverse this decision again by the President of the United States by tweet. Right? It's a remarkable reversal, right? Because as you said, the DOJ goes in, says something, and then the president tweets, well, that's fake news. He's saying that what his Department of Justice told a judge is fake news. And then the judge says, I'm on Twitter. How often do you see that? I'm on Twitter. I follow the president. And excuse me, the thing that you are saying, or the president's saying here, is exactly contrary to what you've been telling me. Now, what is going on? All right, so Ariane, I wanted to bring everybody up to speed. You have some new reporting. Right, so first of all, the president signed off on the first hearing. He signed off on what the Department of Justice and the Department of Commerce said. And then meaning he signed off on going ahead with printing the census without the citizenship. Yeah, they wouldn't. That's key. Barr wouldn't send anybody in there to say that without the president signing off. The president did sign off on it, and then decided on this reversal. And top DOJ officials knew about it slightly before the tweet, but some of the others didn't. And so this judge basically is saying, you go back to the drawing board, figure out what's going on, and report back to me. And I've also known that today they're all working behind the scenes, and there are some options on the table that they're dealing with to do this path forward. One is an executive order. That's pretty fraught. Go right to the Supreme Court. It would be very legally complicated. I had one government official said at this point that's not realistic. Another thing, okay, maybe do an addendum, some kind of supplement after the fact. That's a little troublesome. Or maybe go back to the Supreme Court with some kind of motion to reconsider. Basically, I talked to somebody who said, it's not unethical or crazy for them to look at this issue a little bit harder. But when you look at the hurdles before them, having to do with deadlines, possible injunctions, and everything else, they might, at the end of the day, come to the conclusion that resources could be better spent. Because it is in the Constitution that the census must go forward every 10 years, and that deadline that you're talking about is approaching. So let's just go back to the heart of this. This is a big fight over something that has never been in this census before, which is the citizenship question. I want to go back to Monday.
I've been thinking for several years.
Yes, thank you. To Monday, when the president was asked about this at the White House, and here is his explanation.
Why do you think it's so important that that question be asked?
I think it's very important to find out if somebody's a citizen as opposed to an illegal. I think there's a big difference to me between being a citizen of the United States and being an illegal.
So that's at the heart of it. A lot of his opponents say, I mean, come on, you're trying to, kind of diminish the notion of the Latino vote, the Latino population. But let's just get back to the reversal. It's probably not a coincidence that conservatives went bananas, saying that the president caved, and that's when he changed. We've seen that before.
Many times. And I think it's what differentiates this president perhaps from others is the ability for headlines or certain talking heads or certain people on television to have a very distinct effect on the decision making that he has. It's also a very kind of clear path for this president to kind of tweet something and then the government has to come in behind him and actually figure out what it was. You can go through the lines, whether it's troop withdrawals, whether it's a new health care plan, whether it's a 10% tax cut that nobody knew about that he announced that apparently existed, transgender ban, all of these things that he tweets and then the government has to figure out, lawmakers have to figure out how to make it a reality. I think what's been so interesting about this case is you can see it in real time. That transcript is amazing and frankly reflects what a lot of us go through when editors call us and they're like, what does he mean by this tweet? We're like, I don't know. Yeah, and I also need to call people and figure out what's going on. But I think this was kind of laid out in black and white what the reality has been at times in this administration. It's complicated, particularly for career folks. It's complicated for us politicals. I think it's complicated when you're in a legal fight and judges matter a lot here and don't necessarily take too kindly to all.
This reminded me a little bit of back in December when there were indications that they were going to continue to fund the government, and in the last minute he decided to go into the shutdown. And you remember in that case there was a lot of pushback from conservative commentators on TV. You heard from a lot of people, and so I'm sure part of this also is there were a lot of headlines right after this. The president, this is a reversal for the administration. I also think that for the president and his allies, the longer they keep this fight going, whatever the outcome they see as a positive. It's a political yes, it keeps it going, it keeps it out there, and there's some thought that even if it's ultimately not on the census, this could have a chilling effect. We have to take a quick break. Sorry, we'll get to Sean in the next segment. I will say that so far you have the quote of the day. We are all Joshua Gardner. Okay, up next, one Republican congressman decides to jump the party ship and declare his independence on this July 4th holiday. Republicans might not be thrilled, but this guy sure is.
My first reaction is, hooray, my caucus just grew by 30% in Congress.
Still fresh. Unstoppable wash set. Unstoppable.
It's a long 4th of July weekend, which means more time to check out your favorite Kias. All of our amazing vehicles come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty and advanced technology features. And during our summer sticker sales event, hurry in to get 0% APR for 66 months and up to $2,000 additional cash on specially tagged 2019 vehicles. Visit your local Kia dealer, look for a sticker, and save. Hurry in this 4th of July weekend. Offer ends July 8th.
Geico has over 75 years of savings and service.
Whoa. Travis 19 made it. It's amazing.
Geico.
Oh, is that Travis's app? It's pretty cool, isn't it?
There's 2 of them. They're multiplying.
Geico has over 75
guys, it's me. See? No, I'm real. I'm real.
He thinks he's real.
Geico. Over 75 years of savings and service.
So you have 10 years experience.
I do.
No PhD. I do have a master's in early childhood development. You don't mind if I just record this, do you?
No. First kid. Here's all the numbers, food's in the fridge. Oh, and Lucas likes to pull on jewelry, so you might want to lose the nose ring. By their second kid, parents are more likely to choose Loves.
It absorbs 20 times its weight. And the new Triple Leak Guards lock away wetness for outstanding leakage protection. Live, learn, and get loves.
Today's Best Western. What does that mean?
With rewards points that never expire, you get free nights fast. Now get a $20 Best Western gift card after your first stay. Book now at bestwestern.com.
This is Rick Blomquist. His life is pretty comfortable. Then he laid on a Certa and realized his life was only just sorta comfortable.
I've been living a lie.
The Certa, iComfort Hybrid Mattress. Not just sorta comfortable, Certa comfortable.
Did you know that 4 out of 5 homeowners draw a blank when asked what their home projects should cost? That's why HomeAdvisor created a national database of home project costs, so you can easily see what others paid for similar projects in your area. Then you can get matched with top-rated pros and read their reviews, all for free. Start your next home project knowing what you should pay. Go to HomeAdvisor.com or download the free app.
The movies we love and the stories behind them. A new CNN original series starts Sunday night on CNN.
What I say to somebody living with HIV? Keep being you and ask your doctor about Biktarvy. Biktarvy is a complete one-pill, once-a-day treatment used for HIV in certain adults. It's not a cure, but with one small pill, Biktarvy fights HIV with 3 different medicines to help you get to undetectable. That means the amount of virus is so low it can't be measured in lab tests.
Serious side effects can occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Rare life-threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. Do not take Biktarvy if you take Tofedeline or Rifampin. Tell your doctor about all the medicines and supplements you take if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis. If you have hepatitis B, do not stop taking Biktarvy without talking to your doctor. Common side effects were diarrhea, nausea, and headache.
If you're HIV positive, keep loving who you are, inside and out. Ask your doctor if Biktarvy is right for you.
Closed captioning brought to you by Flex Seal family of products.
Flex Seal. Always have a can of Flex Seal.
This stuff is awesome. Best stuff I ever got.
Imagine everything you could do with the Flex Seal family of products.
Mosh this morning getting some support, as you heard there, from one of the whoops at 4th of July parade in his home state of Michigan, just a few hours after making this announcement. He said, "Today I am declaring my independence." Now, the former Republican congressman is making his big announcement with a Washington Post editorial this July 4th, and here's what he writes. He writes, "Modern politics is trapped in a partisan death spiral, but there is an escape. I'm asking you to join me in rejecting the partisan loyalties and rhetoric that divide and dehumanize us. I'm asking you to believe that we can do better than this two-party system and work toward it." Of course, it didn't take long for the president to weigh in, and he said that it is great news for the Republican Party. He deemed Amash one of the dumbest and most disloyal men, in Congress, and he speculated the move comes because Amash, quote, knew he couldn't get the nomination to run again. We are back with our panel. So first question to you is, obviously this is principled. He wouldn't have come out and said that the president should be impeached as a Republican, the lone Republican to do that on both sides of the Capitol if it wasn't principle. But in terms of his decision to change parties, in my experience covering candidates on Capitol Hill, they generally don't change parties unless they don't see a path forward in their own election as whatever party they're in this case, a Republican. So would he have lost the primary?
It's certainly a possibility, and I haven't spoken to him since the op-ed, so I can't say exactly what his thought process was here, but the reality was he was facing a couple of primary challengers, one that had name ID, who serves in the state legislature, and there had been a lot of rumblings, including on Twitter from Donald Trump Jr., that the Trump operation was going to help anyone who had a legitimate challenge against him, and that would obviously be problematic for him. Look, he's obviously known in the district, he's in his 5th term in Congress, so he has high name ID to begin with, but I think the real question was if he actually had a chance to win. I think he had a chance to win, but could he win? I agree with your assessment. One of the things that I'd heard a lot this morning, obviously a lot of chatter going, for those who aren't on vacation, about what this all means, and I think the big question was, is he not going to run again, and is that why he's saying this right now for Congress, and if he doesn't run again, what's he going to do next?
Well, and also, the conversation that he's trying to start is an interesting one. We do have to give him that, like, is our politics only about loyalty? And the president in his tweet was basically, yeah, I think our politics is only about loyalty. But Justin Amash's problem, depending on what he's going to do next, is that our two-party system basically controls everything. So whatever he wants to do, if he is going to, for lack of a better term, piss off the head of the Republican Party, come out against him, then the two-party system is not going to work for him.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. You do hear some angst from, this large-ish contingent of Republicans who don't like Trump, particularly in the sort of establishment circles. They do worry about what's going to be left of the party after Trump departs the scene and whether it's going to continue to be viable as a party of conservative ideas rather than a cult of Donald Trump. But they would like to see someone like Justin Amash, stay in front, try to change what the party stands for, try to lead the party out of the post-Trump period. And Amash is saying with this decision that he doesn't think that's possible. He doesn't think the Republican Party is the vehicle for conservative ideas anymore. That's a pretty strong statement.
Well, maybe this is an example of why. June 11th, so almost a month ago, his own leader in the House, Kevin McCarthy, was asked about his opposition to the president and his call for impeachment. Listen to how he responded.
What is your reaction to hearing that Justin Amash is leaving the Freedom Caucus, and should he also leave the GOP caucus?
Justin Amash can determine his own future, but I think in a philosophical basis, he's probably in a different place in the jury was.
Is there also in the GOP member?
And as you answer this question, I also just want to refer back before this segment ends to what Phil said, which is his future and whether or not it could be that he sees a place on the presidential campaign trail, running as a libertarian, as an alternative to conservatives, libertarians, to Donald Trump. He himself has not totally ruled that out.
I mean, given how many people are running on the other side, nothing would surprise me, I guess. It seems like everyone wants to get in on that game, but I can't speak to whether he actually would or not. But I do think just the comments from McCarthy and others really underscore that this is Donald Trump's party, and there isn't space in this party for Trump critics.
And we've seen that play out in elections before, right? I mean, there have been anti-Trump Republicans like Bob Corker and Jeff Flake who have not even tried to stay in the race, but then you have someone like a Mark Sanford who did lose his primary after break.
Everybody stand by before we go to break, though.
It is not 4th of July without hot dogs. But the question that is being asked here, and I want you all to really ponder this at home, is a hot dog a sandwich? Well, the Senate is weighing in.
It's a sandwich, yeah.
It's not a sandwich, it's a hot dog.
It's a hot dog. I mean, you don't ask for a hot dog sandwich.
Wireless network claims are so confusing. America's most reliable network, the nation's largest and most reliable network. The best network is even better? Best, fastest, best, enough. Sprint's doing things differently. They're offering a new 100% total satisfaction guarantee. I mean, I think Sprint's network and savings are great, but don't just take my word for it. Try it out and decide for yourself. Switch to Sprint and get both an unlimited plan and one of the newest phones included for just $35 a month.
It was nighttime when Anna heard the sound of machine guns and screaming. Everyone ran for their lives. But in the chaos and the darkness, she lost her parents. For days, she walked through a war zone, growing ill and weak. Terrified and all alone, she couldn't sleep. Anna is haunted by the memory of unspeakable violence and killing all around her. She doesn't know if she'll ever see her parents again. She's just an innocent child. But in countries torn apart by war and disaster, Refugee children like Anna are the most vulnerable. Please, will you help us take care of her? Go online to forcetoflee.org right now to help protect these children. Make today the day you join USA for UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency. With your $19 monthly gift, you can be a lifeline for a child who's lost everything. Children like Anna need your support. They need food and clean water. But above all, they need to feel safe from violence and bloodshed. Safe enough to begin recovering from trauma through comfort and counseling. And they need to feel like someone really cares. So please, start your support now for only 63 cents a day. When a child like Anna has lost everyone she loves, will you help us protect her? Please visit forcetoflee.org with your support right now.
Here's your Buick, sir. Actually, that's my Buick.
Your Buick doesn't have a roof rack. This is my Buick.
How are we gonna fit in your mom's Buick? Easy.
I like that new Buick.
Me too.
I was actually talking about that Buick.
I knew that.
Did you?
Buick's fresh new lineup is full of surprises. During Buick's 4th of July sales event, pay no interest for 76 months on most 2019 Buick models.
Tomorrow morning, a CNN exclusive. Former Vice President Joe Biden sits down with Chris Cuomo.
It's all about finding purpose.
How does the 2020 Democratic frontrunner stay ahead of the pack? Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. Eastern.
Lipids, like very high triglycerides, can be tough. You diet, exercise. But if you're also taking fish oil supplements, you should know they are not FDA approved. They may have saturated fat, and may even raise bad cholesterol. To treat very high triglycerides, discover the science of prescription Visipa. Proven in multiple clinical trials, Visipa, along with diet, is the only prescription EPA treatment approved by the FDA to lower very high triglycerides by 33% without raising bad cholesterol. Look, it's clear there's only one prescription EPA Visipa.
Visipa is not right for everyone. Do not take Visipa if you are allergic to icosapent ethyl or any inactive ingredient in Visipa. Tell your doctor if you are allergic to fish or shellfish, have liver problems or other medical conditions, and about any medications you take, especially those that may affect blood clotting. 2.3% of patients reported joint pain.
Ask your doctor about Visipa. Prescription power, proven to work.
Topping our political radar today, Vice President Mike Pence spending part of Independence Day at a naturalization ceremony. It was this morning at the National Archives, just outside of Washington, D.C. Pence congratulated the 44 new U.S. citizens more than once for following the naturalization process legally.
But all of you aspired to be Americans. You stepped forward. You followed the law. You went through the process. America has the most generous system of legal immigration in the history of the world.
And a federal court says no again to a White House plan to use Defense Department money to build a wall on the southern border. It was an appeals court this time, agreeing with an earlier decision to block that plan. It's a major setback for President Trump. Remember, he declared a national emergency in February, hoping to divert billions of dollars from the Pentagon budget into wall construction. And elsewhere on the border, Senator Cory Booker walking across from Mexico into El Paso, Texas. He did it with a group of people seeking asylum in the U.S. The Democratic presidential candidate told reporters he wanted to use his office to help people through the process.
My Senate office will continue to follow up. Again, my belief is they should be granted asylum, but they have a process to go through. And we're going to try to follow them all the way through that process. This is not my first time here. 1 year ago, almost to the day, I was down in McAllen, Texas, and did a very similar thing. I walked into Mexico, and then my staff and I tried to help people better present themselves for asylum.
And before we go to break, bipartisanship this 4th of July on the very critical issue of food. Democratic presidential candidates Congressman Seth Moulton and Senator Cory Booker, you just heard there, as well as Republican Senator Susan Collins, all tweeted photos of their holiday breakfast. Turns out pancakes can be patriotic too. We'll be right back.
Here at IHOP, we're sticking to what we know best. Pancakes. Pancakes with all-natural Black Angus beef. And wow, we even have a pancake with a pancake in it.
Try one with unlimited fries, starting at $6.99. IHOP.
Send money with Western Union from our app, website, or in store. Three ways to send your money. Western Union.
It's quite the buffet at this hotel, isn't it? It really is. And so close to the stadium. I managed to book the last room for $150.
I booked the last room a few months back. I booked the last room a week ago.
I booked yesterday. One night, $99.
What? How?
Some hotel booking sites panic you into booking the last room, but they often don't have all the availability. Instead, use Trivago. Trivago will search for available rooms and compare hotel prices from hundreds of websites worldwide.
At least I got the last ticket to the game.
Needs to know. Hotel? Trivago.
Shop Joseph A. Bank's 4th of July specials. Save up to 75% off almost everything. Suits for $179. Dress shirts, sports shirts, polos, and tees for $29. Plus an extra 40% off clearance. 4th of July specials only at Joseph A. Bank.
When you take Align, you have the support of a probiotic and the gastroenterologist who developed it. Align naturally helps to soothe your occasional digestive upsets 24/7. So where you go, the pro goes. Go with Align, the pros in digestive health.
At Wayfair.com, we think that when the big stuff ships free, it's just better.
The do over many years is sort of synthesize a lot of different viewpoints so that we don't never lurch too far to the left or too far to the right, because in order to be a Big Tent governing party, you have to have soft edges, right? But since you've had campaign finance reform, parties have lost a lot of their power, candidates that can go directly to the voters. So, we like these sorts of things, direct democracy, and we don't need the parties to elevate us. They can't squash us. But the flip side of that is, with weaker parties, you can have more, let's say, committed candidates to a particular point of view. Some might say extreme. And that's the kind of thing that Amash seems to not be that comfortable with.
Help us understand the phenomenon of Justin Amash over these last few months. He laid out on Twitter his thoughts on the Mueller report. He deigned to read it, which set him apart from some of his colleagues on Capitol Hill. But that was pivotal. That was important. As I said, until today, you had a Republican member of the House who said that it was time to call for impeachment. I guess what I'm wondering is, he's the Pied Piper of something here. He played that role a couple of months back. He wanted people to follow suit, following him in saying that he thinks the president should be impeached. Now he's kind of calling for that again. You describe him as somebody who's operating on the margins or operating alone. How much power do you think he has? He's imbued with to get folks who are maybe having second thoughts about the party system you described, having second thoughts about the president, to follow him in that.
Look, I have to say, as a matter of politics, and interesting with the president's tweet, politics is about addition, not subtraction. And Justin Amash does not hold influence with anybody other than Justin Amash. So he's an interesting figure to cover. He lays out a strong case for his point of view. And by the way, he has done this over the course of his career, explaining every single vote in a Facebook post, laying it out. I mean, words too much for even me to read. This is what they pay me for.
Hyper-transparency.
But does he represent a constituency in Congress? No. Does he represent a constituency in the country? I don't really think so. I think we're, in an era where politics has become very tribal. I think people are members of a team, and I think voters like to say all of the time, I wish we'd have members of Congress who would just do what's right and not what the party wants. But of course they mean do what's right as long as you agree with me. And so Justin Amash is doing what he thinks is right. I think he has some support at home, but I don't think he has as much as some people might prefer.
David, great to see you. Thank you very much on the tip. David Drucker joining me here in New York. And coming up, outrage over the treatment of immigrants held in border facilities across the country. And President Trump's response, which is basically, if you don't like it, don't come. His message to migrants, next.
Wake up. There's a lot that needs to get done today. Small things, big things, too hard to do alone things. Day after day, you need to get it all done. And here to listen and help you through it all is Bank of America. With with the expertise and know-how you need to reach that blissful state of doneness. So let's get after it. What would you like the power to do?
When you start with a better hot dog from Oscar Mayer,
Oh, no way to treat a dog.
you can do no wrong.
Where did you learn that? The internet.
Yeah.
With no artificial preservatives or added nitrates or nitrites, it's all for the love of hot dogs.
You love the look of exterior lighting, but lighting contractors cost a fortune. And wiring your own lights? Well, don't try that at home. You need Disc Lights by Bell & Howell, the portable, powerful, solar-powered LED outdoor lights that mount flat to the ground to create incredible cascades of light. Best of all, there's no wiring at all. Just press Disc Light flat to the ground, and you're done. Bell & Howell Disc Lights utilize light conversion technology that absorb the sun's energy in storage cells, where it's converted into solar-powered electricity. So when the sun goes down, disc lights come up for 10 full hours and turn off automatically in daylight. There's even a switch to turn them on and off manually. Add disc lights to accent your garden, or to add ambiance by the back deck or beside the pool. Place one for a specialized accent light, or an entire group for amazing landscape lighting. Each Bell & Howell disc light contains ultra-bright LEDs that last over 10 years in a durable, weatherproof stainless steel housing. And they're low enough and tough enough that you can even mow right over them. Remove the stake and lay them on any flat surface to add light to that dark walkway. Highlight steps and stairs for safe passage, or just to add inviting accent lighting to your outdoor living. Use the hook and loop strips to mount vertically, so now you can actually see the food you've got cooking on the grill, or add some extra light on the barn or backyard storage shed. And disc lights help to deter nighttime intruders. So which house do you think the thieves would hit? Only disc lights carry the Bell & Howell name, the brand your family has trusted since 1907. Whether you stake them, hang them, or lay them flat, disc lights deliver the right look and light in a snap. So you can spend up to $1,000 or more on Pathway landscape lighting installed by a professional. Or you can get this set of 4 Bell & Howell disc lights for just $19.95, and we'll even ship it to you free. But wait, order today and you can get a second set of 4 disc lights. Just pay a separate fee. So don't delay. Order your Bell & Howell disc lights today. Just $19.95. Call now.
Call 1-800-611-3836 or go to disclights.com. That's 1-800-611-3836 or order online at disclights.com.
When you buy a car from Carvana, you're not stuck haggling with the dealership over their high prices, worrying if you got a good deal. It's why we invented the new way to buy a car that's completely online, so you get the low price from the start. No expensive dealerships, no commissions, no pressure. Only buying a car on your time, knowing the low price you see on our site is the low price you'll get. In fact, this is how our customers have saved literally hundreds of millions of dollars with us versus dealerships. At Carvana, we don't just say we're going to save you money, we save you money.
Kane thinks it makes the rules, but the rules just changed. New Icy Hot Lidocaine Dry Spray. Instant dry technology. No mess, no residue, fast acting relief. Rise from pain. New Icy Hot Lidocaine Dry Spray.
Good evening, everyone. Breaking news tonight.
Lester Holt.
Sounds like a jet airplane up there, but that is fire.
Most trusted TV news anchor in America.
That's Nightly News. I'm Lester Holt. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
President Trump is pushing to keep immigration a top issue in the 2020 campaign. He is now defending how Customs and Border Patrol is treating migrants in facilities and
different views on this. And you mentioned, what is the president going to say? Well, here at CNN, we are going to let you decide. And we're going to play this speech for you live. Is he going to be political, or is it going to be a show of patriotism that is nonpartisan? You can decide for yourself right here on CNN. It is going to be in the 6 p.m. Eastern hour. We'll be right back.
This is Anne-Marie Peebles. Her Saturdays are a never-ending montage of comfort.
Where have you been all night?
But then Anne laid on a Serta Perfect Sleeper and realized her life was only just sorta comfortable. Not just sorta comfortable, Serta comfortable.
Everyone loves a throwback, but I haven't worn that suit in a while. Or those shoes. Luckily, I still have them. Because the clothes that once gave you confidence can help someone get their career back on track. So throw back and donate at Men's Warehouse today.
As a real estate agent, I've learned it's excess moisture that causes musty odors. Pro tip? Use Damfred. New Damfred drop-in tabs attract and trap excess moisture out of the air, eliminating musty odors. Works every time. Get rid of dampness. Damfred.
Wow. That's awesome.
This 4th of July, celebrate in a new Chevrolet.
Oh, wow.
They're all really cool cars.
Woo, I love it. I can't stop staring at it.
Spectacular deals are on display now at your local Chevy dealer.
Wow.
It's time to upgrade. Get 20% below MSRP on all 2019 Silverado double cab pickups. That's over $97.50 on this Silverado. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings. They can even match my projects to qualified pros.
Go to angieslist.com today.
My friends keep me on the go, even when my back pain says stop.
New Aspercreme Warming Patch. Discreet medicated warmth. Relieves pain up to 8 hours with no odor.
All we smell is fresh air.
And try new No Mess Warming Gel.
The Dangote Group stands at the forefront of African enterprise. Since 1978, we've touched the lives of millions of people by meeting their basic needs. Our belief in the promise of Africa has taken us into 14 African countries, with substantial investments that will propel the continent towards greater prosperity, promising jobs, improved standards of living, and economic growth. Dangote, for an empowered Africa.
Hi, this is Jonathan.
I'm Karen.
I'm Lisa.
Looking for a real relationship?
I'm looking for a woman who's trusting, funny, and kind.
I can't wait to meet somebody who loves dogs as much as I do. Definitely would like to meet someone special. Check out Match right now for free.
I was on the fence about changing from a manual to an electric toothbrush, but my hygienist said going electric could lead to way cleaner teeth. She said get the one inspired by dentists, with the round brush head.
Go pro with Oral-B. Oral-B's gentle rounded brush head removes more plaque along the gum line for cleaner teeth and healthier gums. And unlike Sonicare, Oral-B is the first electric toothbrush brand accepted by the ADA for its effectiveness and safety.
What an amazing clean. I'll only use an Oral-B.
Oral-B. Brush like a pro.
You're turning onto the street when you barely clip a passing car. Minor accident, no big deal, right? Wrong. Your insurance company is going to raise your rate after the other car got a scratch so small you could have fixed it with a pen. Maybe you should take that pen and use it to sign up with a different insurance company.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise their rates because of their first accident. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
The day after chemo might mean a trip back to the doctor's office, just for a shot. But why go back there when you can stay home? With Neulasta Onpro, strong chemo can put you at risk of serious infection. In a key study, Neulasta reduced the risk of infection from 17% to 1%, a 94% decrease. Neulasta Onpro is designed to deliver Neulasta the day after chemo and is used by most patients today.
Neulasta is for certain cancer patients receiving strong chemotherapy. Do not take Neulasta if you're allergic to it, or Neupogen, filgrastim. An incomplete dose could increase infection risk. Ruptured spleen, sometimes fatal, as well as serious lung problems, allergic reactions, kidney injuries, and capillary leak syndrome have occurred. Report abdominal or shoulder tip pain, trouble breathing, or allergic reactions to your doctor right away. In patients with sickle cell disorders, serious, sometimes fatal crises can occur. The most common side effect is bone and muscle ache.
If you'd rather be home, ask your doctor about Neulasta Onpro. Pay no more than $5 per dose with copay card.
As America celebrates its 243rd birthday in this tense political environment, it pays to have some historical perspective, and there's no one better to do that than presidential historian Douglas Brinkley, who joins me live now from Austin, Texas. First, your thoughts on the event that we're going to see that the president is putting on tonight.
Well, it's a bizarre idea. I mean, it's the thinking of an autocrat. You know, at the time of our American Revolution, our soldiers used to have chants warning against people like Julius Caesar or Oliver Cromwell. The idea that we need to militarize the 4th of July in this sort of frenetic display of tanks and airplanes seems to me to be a mistake. I think President Trump was better off when he was golfing and giving people a rest from politics of that nature, partisan politics on July 4th. But alas, this is what he wants to do, and let's hope it goes off well, and we can all put it behind us.
All right, so you give us that historical perspective going back to the founders. It's not as if there haven't been political displays on July 4th, particularly aimed at the president or around the president and his policies. Richard Nixon, July 4th, 1970. Take us back then.
That was Nixon, Vietnam War going on, and there was big counterculture protest, and he decided he wanted to do a Honor America thing, just like Donald Trump's doing, and it's very, very similar. Nixon had Reverend Billy Graham, though, bring the Christian element into play. Bob Hope was the impresario of the event. J. Willard Marriott, the great hotel magnate, organized it all. And H.R. Haldeman, Nixon's White House Chief of Staff, wrote a note said, "Keep it cornball." This was Nixon backing the silent majority, and Donald Trump yet again is taking a page from Nixon on today's proceedings.
Very different time. Back July 4th, 1951, a big birthday for the president then, and that president was Harry Truman, and he gave a speech on the Mall talking about self-control, patriotism, faith in institutions, meaning he gave a pretty political statement and speech at that time.
Yeah, and Truman only had about 150,000 people there. Nixon in 1970, which you asked me about, there were about 400,000 people. This was in the middle of the Korean War. An election cycle was coming up in 1952. They used to say his heiress Truman, he had a 27% approval rating. Wow. He thought by speaking on the Mall might bring him up a little bit. It didn't, and Truman couldn't run for re-election.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that. Sorry to cut you off. Brianna Keeler is picking up now. We'll be right back. I'm Brianna Keeler, live from CNN's Washington headquarters. Welcome to our special 4th of July coverage. It is Independence Day here in America, and celebrations are underway across the country. Here in Washington, the July 4th parade is going on right now. Later, President Trump will hold his controversial salute to America. And cities and towns, big and small, across the country are decked out today. This is Darien, Connecticut, where people are coming out for their 15th annual Push and Pull Parade. And Iowa is getting the 2020 treatment this Independence Day. Democratic hopefuls like Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, and Pete Buttigieg are fixtures at parades and barbecues there in the Hawkeye State. Iowa caucus goers are paying attention, and they are making their voices heard loud and clear during this time. Dueling chants at a 4th of July parade just a short time ago made for an awkward moment for Joe Biden. Watch.
It's time. It's time. It's time for a woman in the White House. It's time. It's time. It's time for a woman in the White House.
So this is all happening in the midst of a battle over race issues between former Vice President Biden and Senator Kamala Harris, following their tense exchange on the issue of busing at the debate last week. Now both candidates are having to answer for their positions on busing. I want to go live now to Iowa for the latest. CNN political reporter Arlette Saenz is following Joe Biden. CNN senior national correspondent Kyung Wha is following Kamala Harris. And Kyung Harris criticized Biden for opposing federally mandated busing in the 70s. Now she has taken a position on this issue that is raising eyebrows. Tell us about this.
Well, it's raising eyebrows not among her camp per se, because her campaign is saying they feel that this is all a distraction and it's being directed at them from the Biden campaign. Here's where it all began, Brianna. There was a question yesterday in a reporter back and forth with Kamala Harris at an event, and the question that was asked was whether or not she supports mandatory busing. She said yes, and then she followed up with this response.
Busing is a tool among many that should be considered when we address the issue, which is a very current issue as well as a past issue, of desegregation in America's schools. So I think of busing as being in the toolbox of what is available and what can be used.
Next month is your birthday. Next month is your birthday. Reach out and grab it. I love when that baby